Ooh, that looks tasty. Welcome, folks. Today the Hungry Gamer is back with another list. See, we only do the highest production value here. See, now I should just cut that out because it was really stupid, but no, I'm not. I'm going to leave it in so you all know just how much of a goober I am. But what is today's list? Today's list is what I'm calling my top 10 underappreciated games. And I went back and forth with this. I made some posts in different forums trying to figure out what it was I was actually trying to say. I was thinking, is it a hidden gem? Is that what we're talking about? Is it a game that's underrated that I'm talking about? And I realized as I was putting this list together, some of these games everybody has heard of. So it can't be a hidden gem. Some of these games have pretty darn high scores on BGG and have a pretty darn good reputation out there. So they can't really be underrated, and quite frankly, several of these I think are actually rated spot on. But somehow I kept coming back to them, and what I figured out was what I'm talking about here is games that I just think are underappreciated. These are my top 10 underappreciated games. Games that, even though a lot of the reviews and word of mouth about these games is spot on, I just really enjoy. In some cases, they may fall into a best-in-class type of game for me. In other cases, they're just ones that, well, I just wish more people were playing. I wish I could go to a convention and walk around and say, why can't I play these games right now? So that's kind of where they fall. These are just games that I think don't get the love that they should. And again, as always, my lists, it is purely 100% my personal feelings on the matter. Period. Done. Now, I encourage you to tell me down in the comments where you think I'm out of my blinking mind, please. But just keep in mind that there is no science behind this. Is just my pure feelings, as all my lists are. So I'm going to start with my 3 honorable mentions, games that would have been on this list, but for the fact that they were at the top of some other list that I have done. And I feel like I've appreciated them because I've either given them an award or named them my #1 game on a list. And those are the ones right here behind me. We have my honorable mentions are Wander, The Cult of Barnacle Bay, which wound up being my #1 dungeon crawler on my list I put out recently. Court of Miracles and Guildmaster, which both were tied for my Game of the Year in 2020. So they're not underappreciated, at least not by me. But if they hadn't won those awards, then they would be on this list. But let's jump right in, and I'll go through these. And again, let me know what you think. Let me know how many of these you've heard of before. And if you've been watching my channel, then you probably have heard of most of them. I think I've done a review. I've done a review for almost every one of these at some point. A lot of them way back in the beginning. But here we go. Number 10. We have Triora, City of Witches from Michael C. Alves and Arcano Games. Now this is an interesting one to me because this is a game I don't get to play often, very, very rarely. And it's one that I love to play around Halloween because you are a witch and your witch mother has been burned by the Inquisition for doing horrible, horrible things, which she wasn't actually doing. You guys were just living and doing your thing. But now that that's happened, you're like, you know what? Fine, town. Let's do this thing. You said we were doing horrible things? Let's do some horrible things. Then you go about corrupting the town and all this stuff. And it has, to me, the reason that I will not let this game go, I won't let it go, is it has this, to me, really fun, closed little economy. All your resources you have at the beginning of the game, and you manipulate them, you take these herbs and you use them to make potions, then you have to take the seeds from the herbs and you have to plant them in the next turn. They go over to the other side and they're ready to grow, then they can grow and you can harvest them. But you always have all you're going to have. And to me, that I love that part of the game. It's got too many resources, absolutely. The board is huge, absolutely. Some of the rules and the iconography is hard to parse, but once you get it, it's a fun game, and the theme I think is well done, and I am hoping that come Halloween I can have some people over and play this game because there's something about it that it has a je ne sais quoi, as I guess the French would say. So Triora City of Witches is my number 10 underappreciated game. Now number 9 probably going to be a surprise because I don't talk a lot about party games. I've reviewed several of them, and I often will take them in, and on advisory periods and holidays and stuff, I'll play party games with my students, games like Just One and stuff like that. But this one to me, it makes me happy. It's just pure fun and loud and raucous, and that is Trophies. And this is a game where it's just a deck of cards in here. And one person is holding the deck of cards, and there's a big old letter on the front, and on the back it's got questions. You pick a question, and you call it out, and the first person that can shout out an answer that starts with that letter that you think somehow makes sense is delightful. And as people get kind of amped up and trying to get these cards and trying to get these points, people start shouting stuff out that one makes no sense and often isn't even the right letter. And it's such a great game just to have in the house and bust out. You have people over, you're having wine or you're having drinks or whatever, you just bust it out and you play. I pulled this out at a holiday party that we had at my house where a bunch of the other faculty came over, and I just pulled it out and we had a blast with it. And also it has this delightful little trophy, little metal trophy the winner gets, and the person who gets last place gets a card that says participation trophy. It's just fun. And to me, this would be my number one stocking stuffer if I did such a list. Like that, this is a very, very fun game that no one's ever talking about. So Trophies is my number 9. Now my number 8 is another one that, this is a game that has some problems. And it's going to sound similar to what I said with the Triora in many ways, but that is Galaxy Hunters, which is a relatively recent delivery from Kickstarter from IDW Games. It did okay on Kickstarter, not amazing. It did okay. And like with Triora, it's got too many resources. It's too big. And for me, you gotta have the expansion. But here's the thing with the expansion. The expansion makes what is in the base game just a simple type of contract fulfillment to take your big stompy mech, and you're just taking these stompy mechs kind of all over the galaxy fighting these huge mutants in a worker placement style game. And in the base game, those stompy mechs, you take them, and if you have the right weaponry and you have the right amount of ammunition and energy to fire these weapons, that's it, you're done, you kill the thing, you move on, which is fine. And in fact, I have a friend who swears by that version of the game. In fact, that's all he ever wants to play, is that version of the game, because that's how he likes it. He likes his Euro game to be determinative. Boom, we got it, we know what's going on, I'm never going to waste a turn. Now for me, I don't like that. I like this, where now you get dice, because I got a stompy mech, I'm going to stomp on you, you stupid alien, kaiju, whatever. I get to chuck some dice. Love it. Love it, love it, love it. But that's the thing though, it's a little bit of an identity crisis. Which type of game do you want? Which way do you want to go? But for all of that, there is something about the game. There's something about that building up of your mech and getting the different weapons and gear and stuff on your mech and building it the way that you want, and then taking that out and then finding a plan and pursuing it. I just really like. There's something about the game that I think people have missed, and I know why they missed it. They missed it because, like I said, there's a bazillion resources to track. I think the game needs a few house rules to really make it sing and fly, but for all of that, it's another one. It's not leaving my shelf because, well, it makes me happy when I play it. And it does some stuff that I think is unique and fun. So my number 8 underappreciated game, Galaxy Hunters. Now number 7 is my first one that people will say, whoa, 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 what are you talking about underappreciated? Everyone loves that game. And that's true. And that is Bunny Kingdom. But here's the thing. I think more people should love this game. And let me be clear, I am horrible at this game. I have won exactly once. The first time I played against my wife, I beat her. Never since. Never won another game. I'm terrible at it. but it's just so much fun. It's taking card drafting and it's turned it into a card drafting area control game, but with this silly, cute little bunny theme. And you can take your bunnies and you can take the rainbow bridge up to the clouds if you have the expansion. And oh, it's so cute and sweet, but it's mean. Oh my God, it's so mean. You have these cards, and you're like, oh, if I take this one, what's it gonna do for me? Nothing. But it's gonna stop pink bunnies over there from completing this fief that they need. And that's what I'm going to do. And I don't often like really mean games, but there's something about this one. It's this combination of cute and sweet and adorable and just card drafting, like Sushi Go card drafting, that and then suddenly it's just brutal and cutthroat and mean, and I think it plays quickly, and the way that it takes area control and just boils it down to a game that is fast is just delightful. And again, this is a game that has been well reviewed by, I don't know, I think everybody. And every time I post a picture, everyone's, oh, I love that game. But I don't hear about it enough. I think this is a game that is just kind of fallen by the wayside. People are like, oh, this is great, and it's kind of fallen away. So, underappreciated to me. 2 years ago, underappreciated? No. But now, I think it is. Now, my next one on the list is another Euro game that and this is another one that I think you have to have the expansion for, but that I just really, really like. And I particularly like it because I think the AI for the solo mode is just so good because it's so fast and it can be so challenging. And along with that, with a little house ruling again, you can actually make this a cooperative style game, which is what my wife and I do. And that is Euphoria, Build a Better Dystopia from Stonemaier Games. To me, this is the best Stonemaier game. Now, don't come at me with Scythe, all right? Yeah, Scythe, I get it. I know why everyone likes it. And I don't dislike it. I play it a lot online with some friends and all. And it has so much stuff that's very cool about it. But no, this, to me, is just wonderful. It looks great. The theme is just kind of just under the surface, which usually I do critique because you kind of have to go looking for the theme, but it's there. But the delight of that is because if you stop and start thinking about some of the stuff, it's like, whoa, oh, that's dark. That's dark. So, like, for example, when you pull your workers back, you have to either give them some food or you give them this stuff called bliss, which is this kind of green nebulous gas cloud. If you give them that, then they'll stay happy. If you don't, they get unhappier. Which, if you stop and think about it, that is, well, if you don't feed your people, they get unhappy. But if you don't have any food, that's okay. Give them a drug. And it's just like, oh my God, that is so dark. And when you want to get another worker, you can either spend a whole bunch of water. There's a whole bunch of water to, I guess, I don't know, take them to a spa or something, or give them a pool. Or you can spend a lot of electricity and shock them. Just literally shock them till they come work for you. It also kind of takes that idea of how people think you always have to have more workers to do better in worker placement, and that's often true. But in this one, if you have a lot of workers, you can lose them, and then you spent the time to get the worker, the resources to get the worker, and then you can lose them if you roll the dice poorly. And you can see a theme here. There's dice in this worker placement game, and I really enjoy it. I think it's one of my favorite Euro games, and no one's talking about it anymore. In fact, no one even talks about it when they talk about games from Stonemaier. I think it's a game that people need to give another chance to. Now, this next one's another one people want to say, what are you talking about? It's underappreciated. The reason this next one's underappreciated is because I think this is one of the most fun, off-the-wall games that I have played. Well, I just played it last year, but I played in such a long time. It is so much fun, and it is pure. And this is why I think it's not on everybody's list of must-play games, is it's pure, barely bridled chaos. And that is Cosmic Frog. Oh my God, I love this game. There's a local convention coming up that it looks like it's going to happen in about a month or so. And then I am taking this and I'm sitting down in the open play room. I'm waving this around until I get 5 other people to come play this with me so we can be giant stompy frogs jumping around the galaxy, eating asteroids as we're powered with our star in our stomachs, then jumping back into space and vomiting out asteroid into our space vaults. Tell me that is not the most insane, crazy thing you've ever heard of. And by the way, and look at the art, it matches that perfectly. But the thing is, this is a game that's so random. everything. It's dice and rolling and it's mean. You're taking stuff from each other and all the... But there's a joy that I find in this game. And so for me, this is a game that I see it show up on Facebook on people's posts every now and then. You go look at the ratings on BGG, it's rated well. Some pretty big time reviewers have given it awards as their game of the year last year and stuff. But again, I think this is a game that you look at this box, you look at the theme, and then you look at, oh my gosh, this is so crazy random, that I think people don't appreciate that this game is so chaotic. It is masterful. So for me, my number 5, Cosmic Frog. Now we're going to get into my first one that it's, I think, both underrated and a hidden gem, and that is Red Dragon Inn Battle for Greyport. This is from the same people who did Red Dragon Inn, obviously. It's the same characters, it's the same world, but it's a deck builder. It's a cooperative deck builder, but it's an adventure style game. And you guessed it, there's dice in it as well. So you're building these decks and you're going out and you're fighting monsters, but you're fighting them for the most part, you're using dice. And so it adds a little bit of randomness to it that, again, as you can tell, I really like. And this is one that did it to itself because it came out and it was too hard. When I got this game, I'm not joking. I have never beaten the tutorial that it came with. They put out an expansion and an errata where you could get it and all, which kind of changed that around a bit. But as written, I couldn't even beat the tutorial. It just was so hard, which made it not fun. And I think what that wound up doing is it kind of killed the buzz that this game had. But since they fixed it, what you have is you have a game that it looks great. It's still very challenging, but it's now tiered and you can level it, where the way you work together is just awesome. Because not only you're working together to help each other, but the way you manage your resources, being your cards, means that you gotta be careful you don't help so much that you've now crippled yourself when it comes around to your turn, because you're kind of going around the table. And it's just so much fun. And the way they've taken where you have all these heroes and you get to play a hero each turn. For each hero that you play, they get to play an item or a weapon. And so what that can do is, though, if you don't build your hand right, you suddenly are totally ruined your strategy for the game, and it can be unforgiving. But what I like most about it is it's a deck builder that eschews the idea of cards that are money. I don't like that. I hate having a hand that's clogged up with money cards. It's not fun to me overall. But this one doesn't do that. Each round, it says, this is the amount of treasure that you have. At the end of each of your turns, you can spend that treasure to buy something from up there. Done. So you know what you have, you know what you can buy, and you can plan going forward. This is a game that I think is just overlooked. I think it is better than all of the reviews that it got when it came out, and though those were very well deserved. And I think it's one of, you like deck building, again, you like chucking some dice, it's just great. And I wish more people knew about it and more people played it. Now coming down to my final 3. Now this next one's pretty timely because I know they're coming out with an expansion, a standalone expansion that can cross over to this, but that is Skulk Hollow. This is a one-on-one card-based combat style game. And it kind of has a vibe of Shadow of the Colossus, as one person is playing this gigantic monster, or I can't remember what it's called. I'm stuck with the word Colossus. It's not necessarily evil, it's just these two societies are running into each other, and now they're fighting to survive. And the other is playing these anthropomorphic foxes that are running out, and well, they're trying to kill the thing, but they have to climb up this monster to hurt it. And the monster's going around and they're trying to kill the ruler of the foxes, or accomplish some other objective that they may have. And it's supremely asymmetric. Supremely, like, in the way that it's just so much fun, because in this tiny little box, you have so much replay value. And it's fast. When you actually know how to play, it's lightning fast as you're moving through. There's a couple of kind of rules wonkinesses that I found as I was playing recently and so on, but I really like this game. It is one of my favorite games to just sit down across from somebody and play. This is one of those rare games that to me is both a filler style game because you can sit down and play it in 20, 30 minutes while you're waiting for the people, or you can make a day out of this. No problem. And I think that is just magic when you can do that. So my number 3, Skulk Hollow. Now moving into my number 2. Now my number 2 here was the first one that I realized I wanted to have on this list, which made me realize I cannot use the phrase hidden gem because everybody knows about this game. And that is Vast Mysterious Manor. Not Crystal Caverns, Mysterious Manor. I love this game. I adore this game. And I'm someone who I enjoy Root. More than I enjoy Root, I appreciate the borderline masterpiece that Root is of asymmetric play. But the reason I like Mysterious Manor more is the scale is smaller. And in some cases, you're just playing one thing. At the very most, you're playing 5. If you're playing the Skeleton faction, you're playing 5 different things. And it all is just more compact. And to me, it feels easier to manage. And then along with that, I would argue it is more asymmetric than Root. And before you say, what are you talking about? Here's why. Because when you're playing Root, at least you know if someone's getting close to that 30 points, you better do something. In Mysterious Manor, in some cases, if you haven't played a lot and played all these different characters and factions, you legitimately don't even know how they win. You have no idea. Because the Paladin has to kill the evil thing, whether it be the Spider or the Shadow Paladin. While the Shadow Paladin and the Spider, they gotta get out of the Manor. The Manor's gotta make sure everybody stays in. The Skeletons have to kill the Paladin. The Warlock's just in there doing his own thing, wandering around trying to dominate treasures. Why? I don't know. Because he's weird. I don't know. But they're all so unique and they're all so different, and it's such a smaller scale. I love it. I love it. And I know I'm in the minority. That makes me upset because I think the problem the game has is it's even harder than Root to learn. And that is the knock on it. That and, well, the rules have a lot of ambiguities in it. But I'm willing to overlook all of that because to me it is such a masterpiece of asymmetric play that when everyone knows what they're doing, can move quickly. Because a 5-player game of Mysterious Manor, of people who know what they're doing, will be over in probably 2 hours. A 5-player game of Root, when everyone knows what they're doing, is a 3-hour game, right? It takes longer. And it's just less satisfying to me. And the final thing about it that's less satisfying to me than those other games is when you're playing Mysterious Manor, you legitimately get to ignore some players, but really focus on others. And that, to me, is awesome. I love how you're moving around, and sometimes like you literally, there's a player right next to you, and you just get to ignore them. Just move on. Yeah, I don't know what to do with you. I don't care about you. I'm going to move on and focus on this thing. And I love that. So for me, Vast Mysterious Manor is my number 2. For me, it is the best game Leder Games has. I know, no one's going to agree with me, but that's where I am. My number 2 underappreciated game, Vast Mysterious Manor. This brings me to my number 1. And this is the ultimate hidden gem, because I'm not going to lie to you, it is not easy to get right now. And I'm about to hold this up, and it's still in shrink wrap because I had multiple copies. I actually contacted the publisher and ordered a case of them, because I wanted to be able to give them away to people, and people I was playing with like, oh my gosh, where can I get it? Where can I get it? I was like, Korea? I don't know. But they've been awesome about letting me buy cases other than sending them over when they can. And that is Kushi Express from Mandu Games. This is a dexterity game about you're running a meat skewer shop. And it's a dexterity game, and you have a skewer and all these big, chunky rubber pieces of meat or pepper or tomato or whatever, and then these long cloth strips of bacon or cheese. And it is a race to build these skewers exactly like the card. You're wrapping the cheese around and sticking the skewer through, or maybe you have to wrap the bacon around the beef and put that on, but at the same time you have to weave the cheese through the peppers and stuff or whatever it may be. And it's a game that I will never, ever forget when I first played. A couple friends were over and we'd been working on something all day, and I said, oh guys, I gotta review this game. It says it's a 15-minute game. Before you go home, let's just check this thing out. And I was doing something, I handed the rules to another player, and he stopped and he said, this is either the greatest game we've ever played or the dumbest thing on the planet. And that we played. And the end of the game comes, and at the end of the game, you flip over a card. Somewhere in the bottom few cards, there's one that says closed, which means the game is. And every single one of us went, oh, when it flipped over. And to me, that is magic. That is just magic. And this game is so much fun. It is ridiculous because suddenly you flip the card over and suddenly your hands don't work. And it's insane, and you get to watch people just, their brains just break, and they're putting this thing together, and they're trying to slam this thing down with the plate and say bon appetit, and then everyone stops and they just stare at it like, no, you did it wrong. And then they panic and they're trying to pull it off, they're trying to fix it, and people are, and then mixed into the whole thing, there's cards that suddenly make you stand up and literally wave your hands in the air and shout, and it's just so much fun. And it is, I almost don't want to play any other dexterity games because this, to me, is the best. And so it's hard to get, but boy, it is definitely, to me, the most underappreciated game I've ever played. And another one, like this is brand, I haven't opened this one yet. I gave away my other copy and I happen to have this one. I will never get rid of this game. And that's how much fun I think it is. So there you have it, folks. That is my top 10 underappreciated games. It's a weird list, because it's not hidden gems. It's not underrated necessarily. It's just games that I wish more people were playing because I love them and I can't take all of them with me to a con, and I want them to be there so I can play them. And I think go check these out. Most of them you can probably find relatively inexpensively too, because again, I feel they are underappreciated, except for Kushi Express. You probably can't find that. That's very hard. But outside of that, please let me know down in the comments, what do you think? How many of these have you even heard of? How many have you played? How many of them do you like? What games would you put on the list if you were making it? Because when I put this up, and I put this question of what do you think these games are, there was almost nobody. Almost nobody was repeating games. I had I don't know, it was 30 or 40, 50 comments long, and maybe one or two people said the same game. And to me, that is so cool. And all of these are games that should be checked out. And so these are mine. What are yours? Have you played mine? What do you think about them? So there you have it, folks. That is my top 10 underappreciated games, plus my 3 honorable mentions. As always, if you found this video useful, please like, subscribe, and share. Thank you so much for watching. Have a wonderful, wonderful day.